You have to be on your A game if you are going to interview people on your podcast. Now, interviewing people can be so much fun that you might even forget it's a podcast, and hopefully they will too. And obviously our goal is to make the guest have a good experience. And there's a lot of things you can do to make that happen, but there's one thing that matters way more than anything else. And the reason this is so important is because this will grow your show, and you already know how hard it is to grow a podcast audience. So if you have not checked out our video on why 99% of podcasts fail, I would start there and come back to this one. Now, before we do anything else, we got to cover some fundamentals, because here's what's going to happen if we don't. You are going to just try and wing it, and then you will find yourself trying to survive your own show, and we're not doing that. Now, anyone who's ever worked with our team knows that we are obsessed in making sure that we get reps in, quality reps, before we start talking about monetization, before we start talking about sponsors, before we start talking about rankings. But the thing is, not all reps are created equal. Let me give you a life example. Now, I am someone who my mom would refer to as husky. I've been like that all my life, where I maintain a lot of body fat percentage despite working out a lot, despite the cardio, and despite eating right. Okay, maybe the nutrition part's not dialed in, but whatever. Now, I know there's so many instances where I know I was nailing my training plan, my fitness, my nutrition legitimately, and all that stuff, but nothing was really happening until there was a local trainer who had to come over to my house, and he watched me work out. And ever since that visit, my body fat percentage has gone down and my body composition has improved dramatically. Now, what he told me was that I was using a lot of momentum, I was doing the reps pretty fast, and I was not going all the way down on some things, which did not stretch the muscles out. Now, what does that have to do with content creation? It just means that I was doing the quantity over and over. I was doing all the things, but I wasn't seeing any improvement. It's just simply because the quality of my workouts was not there. And if you are not doing quality reps in preparation for a podcast, especially an interview podcast, you will find yourself in the same boat. Now, I'm going to give you 3 fundamentals that are going to improve the quality of the reps that you're putting in, and is going to separate you from average podcast hosts. Now, I'm going to go over these kind of fast so that way we can get to the main point in a little bit. So the first one is practicing your structure and style. Now, I absolutely hate standardized tests, and I actually fell asleep during my SATs once. That's how bad it was. But what I could have done to make that experience less painful each time I took them was actually do some of the practice tests that they give you. I never did that, and because of that, it was just something I dreaded even though I had to do it. Now, that matters because you have to practice your podcast. You have to simulate how you're going to talk, what you're going to do, so it could come naturally to you and you're not just copying and pasting someone else's style. You could do this by interviewing your family, you could interview friends, you could interview your dog if you want to make sure you have thick skin. Now, keep in mind, this is less about the feedback you're going to get from them, although it can help. This is about finding what I call your podcast voice and allowing you to be you. The second thing you need to do is bring the energy, and that might not be you. But I took a masterclass from a gentleman named Vinh Giang, and he is a fantastic storyteller, communicator. That's why I took it. And he said something that stuck with me, and that is, be generous with your energy, because people want to reciprocate that. So just think about it. The more energetic you feel, the more charismatic you are without being over the top, the guest is going to try and reciprocate that and bring the same type of vibe. All right, and the third one is respect their time. They're already donating some of their time to you, so don't ask for a pre-call. Don't ask for them to show up early for a tech check, and be a pro and know how to say their name. You don't want to be like this.
What's Joe Rogan's dream?
What's Joe Rogan's dream?
Joe Rogan, Dana White. What's Dana White's dream?
Did you just think I was Joe Rogan?
I totally did.
She just called me fucking Joe Rogan.
But the ultimate way to respect their time, to be a better host, and to grow your show is the next thing. Now, real quick, I feel like I'm starting to find my content creation groove as far as YouTube, and if you agree, then I would really appreciate it if you took the time to subscribe and get the bell so that way you get more videos like this. Let's get back to the main thing. So the biggest thing that's gonna grow your show is research. If you don't thoroughly research your guests, no matter how big or how small, your show is not going to grow and you are going to quit. Now, if you interview people now or you plan on interviewing people, there is going to be this like sense of relief whenever they say yes, and you're going to get it scheduled and you're going to tell yourself, I'm going to dedicate this much time so that way I could plan for it and all this other stuff. And you won't. Life happens. Trust me, I've been there. So the next thing that's going to happen is this. It's interview day and you're like, dang, I did not commit nearly as much time as I wanted. And before you even start recording, you're going to tell the guest, hey, just so you know, this is super casual. It's just another way of saying I am completely unprepared. They're gonna know it, the audience is gonna know it, and that's why your show's not gonna grow. Research demonstrates effort, but more importantly, it gives you an edge over podcasters who are just trying to get people on the show, period. Now, research is gonna give you a better feel for what direction the show should go in. It's gonna help you understand your guest way better than the surface level things that are floating around. And lastly, you're gonna ask way better questions, and because of that, you're gonna get way better answers, and your audience is gonna love you for it. Now I'm gonna tell you how to prepare for your guests so you never waste their time and never waste your audience's time. Now, the first thing is the easiest thing, just Google them. Google them and see if they have any awards that you didn't know about, if there's articles written about them, or maybe you'll find out that they had a dead YouTube channel that has some really cool content that you could bring up. Googling someone is absolutely the lowest hanging fruit, and here is a pro tip. Remember how I said to respect their time? By just Googling them and gathering that information, you're probably going to be able to have a better introduction for them instead of asking them for their bio and their headshot. You can do that yourself. The next thing you're going to do is, if this person has a book, you are going to read the book. I've interviewed so many authors and none of them talk about the experience about writing a book as being a good one. They are just trying to get to the finish line. It's like literally like most marathon runners, it's a completion event. Like it's not gratifying until it's done. So if you take the time to read something that took them a lot of effort and you reference things from it, they are going to respect you so much more and you are just going to have better questions, period. Check out this clip from legendary podcaster Jordan Harbinger, who knows what he's talking about.
One time, years ago, I read the book for the guest, and then I read another one of his books, and I thought, this is a really good writer. I'm really enjoying this. So I did an interview with him, and he said, wow, this is one of the best interviews that I've done in years. Why did this take so long? And the answer, truthfully, was, well, I didn't feel like I could do a good interview because I never read any of your stuff. I didn't tell him that, but then I decided, I thought, look, if I read all of the books, and I go through the Wikipedia, and I research the guests, and I go through their bio, and then I look at other interviews that they've done, I can do a better interview than anyone else has done because I outworked them.
This one's gonna feel pretty obvious, but you gotta do some social stalking, okay? Wherever they exist, go there. Now here's the thing, don't just look at their recent stuff. I actually like to start all the way at the back, like way some of their earliest posts ever. If you go all the way back, you are gonna find some things that might trigger some nostalgia for them. And let's just give an example. You might find something like, hey, guest, we'll just say Amy. Hey Amy, I have this post here from March 2015 when you said you were gonna be a millionaire within the next 5 years, and you actually did it in 2. How did that make you feel? Something along those lines is just gonna be like, wow. Number one, they're gonna be like, this person took the time to do their research. Second, they're gonna be like, I can't believe I said that. And 3, you're just gonna bring them back to a place and a mindset that is not in the present. And that's always very unique for perspective and answers that they're gonna give, and that's where you wanna be. Here's one that a lot of people will never do, and that's listen to your guest on other podcast interviews. 1, you wanna see how they do. 2, you don't wanna ask the same questions they're getting asked all the time. 3, you might find out that they're not that great on podcasts and you don't need to interview them. The 4th thing in this regard, listening to them on other people's podcasts, is if they're not appearing on other people's podcasts and you are not really finding anything when you were doing your social stalking, it's probably not someone you need to have on your show. Now I gotta tell you guys about this guy I found on TikTok. His name is Nardwar. He is someone who interviews musicians, but really mostly rappers, and he absolutely blows them away. And there are so many videos of all these people's reactions, all because of the level of research that he does. Check some of it out.
Pharrell, is this where we started? Pharrell Williams, the rump shaker.
Yeah. This is one of the most impressive interviews I've ever experienced in my life. Seriously.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's great to be able to talk to you guys.
This is insane, man. Your research is second to none. Second to none. And I can only imagine that you probably do the same kind of research with every man that you interview. So it's pretty impressive, man.
Do you know a guy called Canon?
Yeah, that's crazy. This dude said Cannon. Wow. Cannon. That's one of the dudes I started off rapping with. My dude Antonio. Yeah. Wow, that's 8th grade. That's 7th grade.
What about Louisiana Chicken?
Yeah, Louisiana Chicken. That's the neighborhood. Yeah. That's my favorite. Yeah.
And it's like bulletproof glass?
Yeah.
What do you order there?
I ordered the number 3. It's a 3-piece.
And Kendrick Lamar, there's also Tams and Rite Aid, too. The Rite Aid.
Definitely grew up in Tams and right. This dude right here is really doing his research though. This is crazy.
Now, I may not have interviewed people like Nardwar has, but I absolutely have interviewed some of the biggest names in the entrepreneur space. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that my level of research created way better energy and a way better podcast than they were used to. And the thing here that you might be overlooking is the fact that if you do good by them, they are gonna vouch for you when you try and interview some of the people that are in their circle who would also make a good interview. So take the time to do the research. I can tell you I've grown shows this way before. Research is what no one wants to do, but the people who are willing to do it are gonna get the biggest results. And if you have not checked out our playlist on all things podcasting, go ahead and check it out. There's definitely gonna be some nuggets in there. I'll see you next time.